Okay, so today we are making a pocket tag loaded mini. That's what I'm calling this. And I've only decorated the front cover. I actually have not decorated the inside at all yet. But as you can see, I've stuffed it with a ton of stuff. And this right here is our mini ghost piñata, and I'm actually going to show you how to make that also. It's got a little tag pull at the bottom where you can pull it and take out all the goodies. There's basically a pocket attached to the front of our mini. It's like a little tag pocket. And then here's how it opens, and you have a pocket right here, and then you have a pocket right here as well. And then I did leave the back blank, but if you wanted to add another pocket, a fat pocket like the one on the front, you could definitely do that as well. So there's a ton of space for goodies that you can add in the front, and then of course some space on the inside that you can add goodies in as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so you're going to need a couple of different things. This is the tag for the front, and this is the tag for the inside. This tag measures 5 7/4 by 7 inches, and this one was 5 1/2 by 6 1/4, I think. I will have these available on my website so that if you want the SVG to use in either Cricut or Silhouette, you can definitely go to my website and you can get the cut file there. So those are the tags, and then you're going to need a piece that measures 6 inches by 12 inches, and this is going to be our base or our mini album. And then you also need a piece that measures 6 3/4 by 6 1/2, and this is going to be the piece that goes right here to create our pocket. Then you're going to need a smaller piece that measures 6 3/4 by 4, and this is going to be our small pocket on the inside. And then lastly, you're going to need a piece that measures 7 3/4 by 4, and this is going to create the box in the front. I actually cut out 2 pieces so that we can see what it looks like to have a box in the front and a box in the back, but that's what you'll go ahead and need for the box piece. So we're going to start off by scoring. So you're going to take your first piece, which is your 6 by 12 inch piece, and we're going to score this at 5 3/4 and 6 1/4 on the 12 inch side. So that was 5 3/4 and 6 1/4, and that's going to create your kind of little pocket gusset, or your little gusset to make your mini, and that was on the 12 inch side. And you can go ahead and fold and burnish if you'd like, and there's basically your base for your mini. Then we're going to go ahead and score our next piece, which is our large pocket, and this one is going to be 6 3/4 by 6 1/2. And on the 6 3/4 side, you're going to score 1/2 inch. And then you're going to score at 6 1/4. And then you're just going to rotate this down and score at 1/2 inch again. Okay, so you have 1/2 inch all the way around. I didn't score that second one right, so just make sure you score 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch all the way around. Okay, and this is for that large pocket. And then you're going to take your small pocket. This one measures 6 3/4 by 4, and you're gonna score 1/2 inch all the way, well, except the top part. So you'll do 1/2 inch, and then just rotate, do 1/2 inch, rotate again, and score another 1/2 inch. So you'll have 3 areas all the way around where you're going to fold. And then lastly, we're going to take our box piece, and this one we're going to score at 1/2 inch and 1 inch all the way around. So you're going to do 1/2 inch and then 1 inch, rotate, do a 1/2 inch, and 1 inch, and then rotate again, and do a 1/2 inch, and 1 inch. And because I cut 2 of these pieces to create 2 boxes, you're going to go ahead and do that again on the second piece. So a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, a 1/2 inch, and 1 inch, and over here was a 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So it's going to look like this. You're going to have double score lines going around 3 sides. Okay, so these two, the box pieces, were 1/2 inch and 1 inch on 3 sides. This one for the small pocket was 6 3/4 by 4, and we did a 1/2 inch on 3 sides. And then this one was 6 3/4 by 6 1/2, and on the 6 3/4 side we scored 1/2 inch all the way around. Okay, a 1/2 inch all the way around. Okay, so we're done with scoring. So now we're going to go ahead and add our score tape all along our edges. So just go ahead and add your score tape. And we're going to make our pockets exactly the way that we normally, exactly the way that we normally make them. Just add your score tape all the way around, and of course if you prefer to use wet glue for this part, you definitely can use whatever you prefer. Okay. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to burnish down our score tape, and then I want you to go ahead and miter your edges. So you're going to cut your little triangle right here, and then we'll fold our pocket pieces back. Okay? Okay, so we are going to miter our edges. I went ahead and burnished already, so just miter your edges. There we go. And then of course fold back and burnish again. And so this piece will go right here inside for your pocket that opens on the top. And of course if you have an edge punch, and you want to use an edge punch here, I would recommend you going ahead and doing your edge punch before you stick your pocket on, but that would go there. And then this is our little pocket that goes on the inside. And you could, of course, add more pockets if you want. So if, let's say, you wanted this to be 2 pockets that are large on the inside, and then add this pocket on top of this one, you could definitely do that also and add some pockets. You could also add a flap here on the inside. This gusset here is a 1/2 inch, so there is still some room in there. So if you want to add additional pockets, or if you want to add additional flaps, you definitely have that room to do that. But I'm going to do it the same way I did last time, and I'm just going to place this pocket here, and then this pocket's going to go right here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to work on our box. And I know you see a ton of different squares, and you're probably thinking, which one am I supposed to cut? So I'm going to make it really easy. You're just going to cut these 3 squares right here. So these 2 on the bottom and this one right here. Don't make any other cuts except cut these 3 squares right here on both sides. So you're going to have 1 square that stays with your flap so that you can make your box. So it's just these 3 right here. And I don't think I have a colored pen to show here. Here's a green, maybe this will help. So this one, no, it doesn't help. Maybe a red, this one, and this one, this one, this one, and this one. I don't know if that helps at all, but it's just this square, and this square, this square, this square, and this square. So both of the bottom two squares right there, and then this square right here. See? So again, both of the bottom two squares. And then this square right here. Okay, so that's trash. And so now this little square that's left, you're just gonna cut right up to, you're just gonna cut this little line right here, right up to the other score line. Don't go over it. Okay, so now you have a little flap like that, a tiny little flap. And you're gonna do the same thing over here. All right, so now you can go ahead and fold on your score lines. Okay, and your box is basically going to come together like this. You're going to put glue right there, and you're going to stick it together like that, and glue again, stick it together, and then you're just going to glue the outsides like that. Okay, so you see your pocket box. Let me do that again. So I'm just going to put glue on this tab and glue on this tab, and I'm going to glue it right here to this one right here. Not this outside one, but the inside one. Now when I adhered my pocket to my mini, what I did was I used wet glue. But if you're going to want to use score tape, you're going to want to add your score tape on the outside pieces only. So I can do that so that we can see what that's like. So I'm going to just add the score tape to the very outside edges only. But if you want to use wet glue, that's fine, and that's where you're going to add your wet glue when you adhere it to your mini, is the same place right here. Okay, just go ahead and burnish this really quickly. The good thing when you add wet glue and when you add this box to the front is that you have a little time to adjust. You won't really have any time to adjust when you add score tape. So I'm just going to add a little bit of, a little bit of glue. Got a little glue crazy there. And I'm going to stick this to this part right here. That's going to help me form my box. Okay? And I'm going to do the same thing over here. This one to this piece right here. Okay? Just hold it for a few seconds while it dries. Now, what you would then do is you would stick these pieces down right here, but because I use score tape, I'm gonna wait on that piece until I'm ready to actually stick it to the front of my box, okay? But those are all the pieces that you need to create your base. That's pretty much it. So we can go ahead and do this piece again, but this time what I'll do is I'll add wet glue so you can see how it looks with just the wet glue. So again, we're just gonna cut out these 3 little squares. I'm gonna start by cutting out the bottom ones, because those are the easiest. And then you're gonna cut out this one right here. And I'm gonna repeat it over here on this side as well. Cut out the 2 bottoms. Oops. And then cut out this piece right here. Oops. Didn't cut far enough, but I didn't want to cut too far into my score line either. Okay, so now I'm just gonna cut right up this little score line where it meets this other score line. I'm not gonna go farther than that. So then I have my little flap again, okay? Do the same thing on this side so that I create that little flap again. So now I'm going to fold on all my score lines again. And I'm going to go ahead and add my glue to my flaps and stick them together. And then add my glue again to this little flap and stick it right here. And this time, since I'm going to do wet glue all the way around to attach it, I'll be able to add my wet glue first. I'll be able to go ahead and close it up. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of wet glue right here so that it attaches right here. And then I will add some wet glue right there. And attach this right here. And so now I have my little box right here. I think I have some glue right here. But since I'm going to cover it with designer paper, it's okay. It's probably from when I got a little glue crazy earlier. So now I have two pocket boxes. Okay, so before we move forward, what we'll do is we'll go ahead and adhere our pockets down the same way we normally would do it, is just take off your score tape and stick them down. I would recommend making sure that you try to line this up as close as possible to the edges, because since they are pockets, if you have anything sticking over, you can't necessarily cut it off like we've done in the past, because then you're basically cutting into your pocket. So just try to make sure that you get it lined up as close to the edge as possible so that you can add your pocket in. And you'll do the same thing for this one, is just take off your score tape and then stick it on right here so that you can create that pocket. And then what you'll do is you will add wet glue right here and stick this onto the back, and then take off your score tape and stick this onto the front. Okay, so let's go ahead and start that process. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add this smaller pocket. I'm just going to take off my score tape backing. And then I'm going to line mine up on this bottom corner right here. And there you go. There's that pocket. And then do the same thing over here. And I want to make sure I do not go over my score line right here, because then I'll have a really hard time folding it. And if you have a little extra on the top, like sometimes I tend to have a little tiny extra on the top, you can just go ahead and trim it off. That's normally what I do, is just kind of trim it off. If I went a little crooked somewhere, it's completely fine. And then this is going to be my front, and this is my back, because this is where my little pocket is. And this is where I'm going to add my box. However, one thing I forgot was my tag. So if you're going to add your tag, and if you want to add designer paper on the bottom like I did over here, I actually have designer paper right here first, only because I knew one little piece would be sticking out. You can go ahead and add your designer paper right there. If you don't want to add designer paper, all you would do is just adhere your tag. I went ahead and I adhered it just a little bit higher because I wanted my tag to show a little bit higher at the top, and I didn't want it to, I wanted to stick out more at the top, and I knew I was going to cover this piece with a box, so it doesn't really matter if it doesn't show. So I'm gonna have this one stick out a little bit higher, and I'll cover those corners so it won't matter if I don't have a bottom backing piece or a bottom designer paper piece. So what I'll do is I'm just going to use my ATG gun and add adhesive on the back. You can definitely use score tape for this if you want. Just use, you know, whatever works best for you when you're making your projects. And so I left part of this open. Now, if you want to add designer paper to the back here as well, so that when it shows in the back, you won't see just black, you can do that too. It's completely up to you, however you want to do it. I got this stuck already, so give me a second here. I'm going to unstick it with my spatula. Okay, so I've attached my tag. So basically what I did when I was trying to adhere it the first time, the tape went onto the paper before I was ready for it to go. And so all I did was I took my spatula and I kind of wiggled it under the bottom until I was able to take the tag off. Then I reapplied adhesive, and so now it's on. And even though it looks a little crinkly, that's okay because I'm going to put designer paper on top and it'll make it a little stronger again, so I'm not too worried about that. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna adhere my pocket right here. Now this is going to go all the way to the bottom, so that way I have a ton of space in here to be able to, I mean, I definitely could put it right here, it's completely up to you, but if you do that, just make sure that you add some kind of designer paper on the bottom before you adhere your tags, so that way you give yourself some space for designer paper other than it just being black. Or if you want to adhere your pocket right here and then add laces on the bottom, you could do that as well. So there's lots of different things you could do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to peel off my tape backing, my score tape backing, and I'm going to do my super absolute best to stick my box on perfectly straight the first time. Now before I stick on my box, I'm going to stick these little tabs in place, since now my score tape is removed. So now I can just stick these pieces down. Okay. And now my box is ready to adhere. And so what I'm going to do is I like to work on one corner and I try to make it either the corner that's closest to the gusset or the one that's on the edge. So that way I can make sure I'm lining things up properly. Okay, and so then all I'm going to do is I'm going to take my score tool and I'm going to burnish all along the inside of those flaps. Okay, so now my front pocket is adhered. So I'm going to do the same thing over here for the back, but this time I'm going to use wet glue, and I'll just put my wet glue all along the edges. And now I'm going to do the exact same thing, is line up my corners. But again, the good thing about wet glue is that it kind of moves a little bit, so it's easier to adhere. You can adjust it if it doesn't stick perfectly. And then you're going to do the same thing with your burnishing tool, is just burnish those edges down. Now wet glue does take a little longer to dry, so you just have to hold it down a little longer. Okay, so now I have two boxes. I have one on the front and I have one on the back. And then I have my inside pocket right here, and then my inside pocket right here. And now it's ready for you to decorate. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section and let me know. I am including all the designer paper sizes as well, but this is basically your entire base for your pocket tag loaded mini. And there's tons of space for you to add a lot of different goodies in it as well. Okay, so now we're going to move on to creating the mini ghost piñata. Okay, so now we're gonna make this a mini ghost piñata, and I use tulle, and this is white liner, and then all you would do is you'd pull out this gold twine, and then all the goodies will fall out. And it is pretty thin, so you can stick some goodies in there, but not a ton. But if you wanted to make a bunch more goodies, you would just need to make your white piece of cardstock a little bit longer. And this piece of cardstock measures 4 by 5 inches. And this is probably going to be super quick and super easy. But again, if you want to make it fatter, you can definitely make it fatter. But all I did was I took the 5-inch side and I rolled it into a little circle, just like this, and then I adhered it with Scotch tape. You can definitely use hot glue if you want, or if you want to use score tape, you can definitely do that also, but I kind of wanted to make this super quick and easy, so all I did was take a piece of Scotch tape, and add 3 pieces of Scotch tape for the body. That's it. So that part is done already. And then to create the little ghost head, all I did was I took my liner and I took some cotton stuffing, but if you don't have cotton stuffing, you could use a cotton ball, you could use tissue, whatever it is that you want to use. And I just kind of created a little kind of round ball of the stuffing at the top, and then I layered my white liner over the top. And the reason I use liner is because I like the way it frays at the bottom, and I had it on hand. So just use whatever you have on hand, and you can make it as long or as short as you want. Mine actually does not cover the whole bottom piece of white cardstock, but I don't think it really matters. I think it still looks super cute, but if you want yours to cover the whole bottom, you can definitely do that. And then what I did was I took a piece of tulle. Again, I really didn't measure. I just kind of eyeballed it and decided how much I wanted, and then I just layer the tulle over, and as you can see there's a ton of tulle at the bottom, so I'm going to cut that, I'm going to trim that before when I'm almost finished. But I just layered the tulle on the top, and then I took a piece of, in this case I took gold twine, but I didn't have any more of that gold twine, so I just took a piece of this muslin ribbon, and I just tied a little knot like that. And so then all I would do is I would, to finish off my ghost, I would cut 2 little black circles of cardstock, and then I hot glued them on. If you have vinyl, you can definitely use little vinyl squares also, completely up to you, however you want to do it. But your ghost is pretty much done, the outside is done at least. And if you wanted to leave all this tulle, you definitely could. It's completely up to you. That's the beauty of this project. And of course, crafting is that you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So now to make this little pool, all I did was I cut a little circle that's 1.5 inches, and then I took my ribbon, whatever it is you want to take, and I'm going to stick it through the top, and then I'm going to tie a little knot. Now my knot is going to be almost right to close, but I don't want it to slide through. I want it to hold. So I'm just going to take another little piece of Scotch tape and cover my little twine right there. And this is going to be the piece that I stick right here on the bottom. So at this point, you would add any goodies you want to add in here. Candy or sequins if you wanted to add sequins, or gummies, or anything that you wanted to add. And then you would go ahead and you would take your circle, and I just kind of folded it up like this. I don't want it to be too hard for someone when they try to pull it out. I want it to be pretty simple when they pull it out. So I just folded it up kind of like this in kind of like a cone shape. And then I just put it right in here, just like that. You see? So it'll be super easy when someone pulls it. Now, if you put a bunch of stuff in there, I know you're probably thinking, oh, it might fall out. So what I did was I just took this extra little Easter grass that I had, and luckily I had it in this clear color, and so I just stuffed this in here also to kind of give it some more room, some more stability. And that was it. That's how I made it. Now you could also take some crepe paper and tape the crepe paper over, like right here in between your ribbon pull. Tape some crepe paper right here also. I didn't have any white crepe paper, so that's why I did not try that, but you definitely could take a little piece of white crepe paper and wrap it right there, tape it from here to here, and that'll also give it some stability. Depending on how heavy what you put in on the inside is, you may want to add 2 pieces of crepe paper, or you could add a piece of cardstock, whatever you want. The whole point is though, is that when someone pulls the little ribbon, everything will just fall out, just like that. Okay, so that is how I made the mini ghost piñata. I hope that you will give this project a try, and I can't wait to see pictures. Thanks so much.